Hello, today I'd like to show you how to make a block using 5-inch squares that I call standing tall. So as you can see, it's a fairly tall block. It measures, I'm going to get it right this time, 6.5 inches tall, and it measures 4 inches across. So it's going to finish at 6 inches by 3.5 inches. So to do that, I've got some 5-inch squares ready here, and I'm going to use this little, I've got a little pile of 4 squares here, and these I'm going to use for my centers of my block, and this little pile here I'm going to use for the surrounds. So I find that cutting 4 at a time is a good amount, and I don't like cutting things 1 at a time, so it works really well for me. So for my centers, I'm going to cut, so it's 5 inches tall, and I'm going to use the markings on my board to help me measure up, so I've got them sitting nicely. So I'm going to cut that in half, so at 2.5 inches. And then for my surrounds of the block, I need 4 strips. So I'm going to cut each one of these into 4 1.25 inch wide strips. So I've measured 1.25 inches along, and I'm going to cut through there at 1.25. Then I'm going to measure another 1.25, which effectively cuts the square in half now. Then I'm going to cut another 1.25. So 1.25 goes 4 times into 5 inches. So you get 4 equal size strips across there. So I'm going to now, so then 2 of these strips need to just be trimmed back to 4 inches long. So I can just take 2 of them and chop 1 inch off the end of a couple of them. We'll just make a couple of blocks so that you can see how I do it. So again, I've lined them up with the board, and I'm going to chop them off at 4 inches because I don't need them that long for the top and the bottom. So if I take this fabric, and the long strip is going to go either side, and I'm going to make a couple of blocks at the same time, so I'll just grab this one as well, and I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew the sides on. Now I would normally do a whole string of these, but we'll just do a couple so that you can see how I'm chain piecing them. Chain piecing means that you're feeding them continually through into a chain. So now you want your 1/4 inch foot on, or you know where your 1/4 inch seam allowance is. So just with a 1/4 inch seam, straight down, and we'll do the next one while we're here. These fabrics are just delicious. They've got these lovely writing and things on them. Okay, now I'm going to take that out and come and do the other side. Just make sure you put the right one on, because you want the surround to be the same all the way around on this block. Nothing terribly difficult about the block, but quite effective when it's made up. And again, another great way of using up 5-inch squares. Cut those apart, and now I'm going to press the seams. I like to press all my seams as I go. I find I get a much better result in the end. So I press from the right side, so I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to press into the little side strip and turn it around and do the other side. And the same on the next block. So just gently letting that fold over on the seam, and you don't get the little tucks in the seam if you press from this side. Okay. Now I'm going to sew the top and the bottom on. So that should all fit now if your seam allowance was the right size. So back to the sewing machine. through. And coming back. I've done quite a lot of patterns with 5-inch squares. I really enjoy working with 5-inch squares. It's a nice size, and also you get the nice variety of different fabrics within a quilt. And they're available on my website on gourmetquilter.com. My patterns are all downloadable, so there's no postage involved, which is great. Okay, so that's those two sewn. I'm just going to press those. Great way to showcase some really nice fabrics like these ones with the writing, which are always pretty exciting somehow. You always want to know what they say, and sometimes you can't tell. But there I've got the 2 blocks that I've just made, plus the one that I had already made, plus I have actually made a couple more. So you can see you can have quite a lot of fun laying them all out and changing your colours around, etc. I have actually done a pattern for this particular pattern. It's called Standing Tall. As I mentioned earlier, it is available on my website gourmetquilter.com as a downloadable purchasing pattern. And I'll show you, I have actually made a quilt, not in these colours, but I'll show you what I've made with it. So this is the quilt using that same block from that pattern, and this is my fish and chip quilt. I've got fish and chips and salads in this quilt. It's a very, very delicious quilt. The fabrics and things are just wonderful. So there's another little idea to help you with some of the 5-inch squares. So many of us collect them, and if we haven't been collecting them, well, maybe it's a good idea to collect them. Thank you.